Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People, where in today's episode, you'll hear 3 insane times where people thought they were deserving of special treatment for being their awesome self. Guys, as always, the stories are super outrageous, so get ready to shake your heads. I hope you enjoy the stories and do hit that subscribe button for future tales. Now guys, the first story was emailed to me by this awesome person right here. I'm not even going to attempt to say the name because I know I'll butcher it horribly. So my friend, if you're listening, thank you so much for the crazy story submission. So a little bit of background. I work for a private security company at a European airport. We're basically TSA officers, but privatized. This is common in almost every airport in Europe. Now I have worked there for about 10 years now and recently got promoted to supervisor/senior officer. It's safe to say that we do encounter a lot of entitled people. We're not armed, and we don't really have any authority other than refusing access if need be. Now, some of these people know this and try all sorts of stuff in order to make us feel inferior or get what they want, and it never works, but they still try. This incident happened 2 years ago, where a man tried to sneak a weapon onto a plane. On this day, I was helping out checking luggages for prohibited items. I work with the X-ray operator. So when he spots something suspicious, he notifies me about what item and where, and sends the image to my station, and then I start my search. So the guy notifies me about a knife, and pointed to the tray carrying the luggage. The tray contained a briefcase and a blue folder with some documents, along with a wallet and a cell phone. So I take the tray and walk up to my station. The image shows a folded knife in the briefcase. I identified the owner to be a 50-year-old male in a business suit. He had slick gray hair, expensive watch, you know the type. I then say to the guy, "Hello sir, do you mind if I do a quick check of your belongings?" The guy says, "Sure, go ahead, just make it quick, I have a plane to catch. By the way, that blue folder is for my job." Now me ignoring the blue folder stuff said, "Thank you, this won't take long." I then opened his briefcase and he tried reaching for the blue folder saying, "This folder is my job, remember that." Now, since you're not allowed to interfere with a security check, I stopped my search and held out my hands over his tray. I then say to him, "I'm sorry sir, but you'll have to wait until after my search to take your belongings. I'm almost done." The guy then says, "Hurry it up already. There's nothing to find. You're just wasting your time. Just remember that the blue folder is my job." Now after not even a minute, I took out the knife and the guy starts to look nervous. It turned out to be a butterfly knife, which is a forbidden weapon. Now, it's illegal to even take a forbidden weapon to a checkpoint, much less take it on a plane. Doing so can subject you to some serious fines, plus possible criminal prosecution. Now, in case of a forbidden weapon that's clearly trying to be smuggled onto a plane, we need to take the passenger's passport while the police are being called. They will then detain the passenger for questioning, and they'll probably get fined for it or get refused access onto the plane. I then discreetly show it to him as there were more passengers around us watching and signal to my supervisor to notify the police. Now there was patrol on standby a few meters away. At that, the guy says, "Oh, that?" He then shrugs and mockingly says, "That sure is dangerous." The guy then shook his head and laughed, and me said, "Unfortunately sir, this is a forbidden item and is not allowed in your hand luggage." The guy then interrupts and says, "I know what the law states, young man. Like I said, that blue folder is my job." Now, at this point, the other passengers start looking at him and were rolling their eyes like, "We know, it's a blue folder, it's your job. Why are you still going on about that damn folder?" I then tell him, "I apologize for the inconvenience, sir, but I do have to ask you to give me your passport as this is..." The guy suddenly then reaches for the folder, which is laying upside down next to his passport, and he shows me the front of it. It said, blah blah blah, attorney office, with an official stamp underneath. So the guy then raises an eyebrow and smirks as he showed it to me, like it was gonna help him in this situation. Now I knew where this was going, and the line of passengers behind him was getting longer, and everybody was getting annoyed. I said, "Oh, you're an attorney." The guy at this point is still smirking and says, "You're damn right, young man." So I then smiled and said, "Great, then you know what happens next, right?" I then grabbed his passport and gave it along with a knife to the other supervisor who was accompanied by police. So at this point the guy was confused and said, "What are you doing? I'm an attorney." He then looks at my supervisor handing over his passport to the police. I then tell him, "Attorney or not, as I was trying to explain, sir, this is a forbidden weapon. Now, we don't know what your intentions were with it, but I'll have to ask you to step aside for some questioning. It goes without saying that we cannot allow this to go with you on the plane. And as an attorney, you probably know this already, so you won't have a problem defending your case with these gentlemen. I then pointed at the police and said, "Enjoy your day, sir," and gave him my biggest smirk. Some passengers had to turn around to laugh, and others just shook their head at him. The man looked at me in shock and started to nervously laugh, thinking it was a joke. When he saw the seriousness in the eyes of the officers, it started to dawn on him that it wasn't. With his face turning bright red, he silently grabbed his stuff and walked away with the officers, looking only at the ground. The other passengers sighed in relief, and some even commended me for my patience and how I remained calm. I later had to write a report, along with one colleague who was there and my supervisor about this incident, where we explained everything in detail, which got sent to the police. I later found out that he was allowed to travel further without the knife, of course, and he did have a court date where he was probably fined, and fines can go up to 4,500 euros. Plus, he'll now probably have a criminal record, and as an attorney in my country, this might even lead him to losing his job. Now, I never did hear the outcome, unfortunately, but it still makes me laugh to this day. Guys, what a wild story. And like Opie said, TSA agents probably encounter entitled people all the time. Like, yeah, we get it. You're a high-powered attorney. That doesn't give you the right to sneak a butterfly knife onto a plane in your briefcase, sir. And what the heck was that blue folder nonsense? Was the guy trying to draw attention away from his briefcase that held the forbidden weapon? Or was he trying to let everybody know that he's a freaking attorney? Either way, it makes him look really dumb though. So after all this time reading these stories and saying to myself that this can't be real, it actually happened to me today. So I'm a high school culinary arts teacher. Rewind to Friday. The following exchange happens in my 3rd hour class. One of my students waits until class is over, walks up to me and demands, "Hey, Miss OP, why did you fail me in this class?" I told him because you've turned in 3 out of 27 assignments. The kid then says, "But miss, I got a game this weekend and now you've made me ineligible, I can't play." I told him I'm sorry to hear that, maybe turn in some work. He then says, "Can't I just go wash dishes or something?" I tell him no and the kid stomps off. Now, that's a common exchange for a teacher during sports season, and I thought nothing of it until this morning. So I checked my email and saw this subject. The subject said, "Concern about my son so-and-so's grade." Now, the original email was nice enough. It said, "Why is my son failing?" etc. So I emailed back the Karen with the same response I gave her son. And then stuff got real. I then received a series of emails from the mom. Basically, how dare you, don't you know who he is, the basketball team needs him, he's their star player, blah blah blah. I demand you change his grade right now. So I emailed back as politely as I could and said, "No, but I can set a meeting with the coach and principal if you'd like, but I can't give him a passing grade when he's clearly dodged all assignments and only submitted 3 out of 27 of them. That wouldn't be fair to other students." So at this point, the Karen responds and says, "No. You're just the cooking teacher. What you teach is not important at all. It's not like he'll ever need the stuff you teach anyway." I then tell her, "Sorry, I'll help him after school with his work if you'd like, but I'm not changing his grade with no work done. And as I've said, that's not fair for the other students who worked really hard in my class." So the Karen then emails back and says, "Listen, you change his grade right now, or we will tell everybody you've been trying to assault him sexually." Now, it was at this point that she must have realized her truly epic mistake, as this was my school email, and all of them are archived and can be easily seen by the public with a simple request. I say this because even before I can reply to that one, I got this email. Karen then says, "And just so you know, my husband is a high-powered professional hacker for the government, and these emails will all be gone in minutes. Change the grade or else." So I took my stack of newly printed emails down to my boss, just like a minute ago, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Now listen guys, I say this so much, but this actually left me speechless at how silly the mom is. Like, your son refused to do the work and got a grade that reflects his efforts, and you then harass a teacher to change his grade to give him a pass for literally doing no work? This mom is definitely a part of the problem, and this is the kind of stuff that makes this subreddit possible. People thinking that they're owed more than they deserve. And guys, on top of that, did she literally just say that she was gonna pretend that OP assaulted her son in an email where there's evidence? Like, wow, how can one person be so dumb? Anyways, OP does have the juicy update, and here it is. So I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. So after school, I got the expected call from the admin to come in for a meeting. Now, much of this meeting took place without me, but essentially they rounded up the student and asked him point blank if I had ever touched him inappropriately, tried to engage in anything like that, etc., and the kid said no, she would never do anything like that. So they then showed him a copy of his mom's email, and I guess he turned very pale. So the kid tells us the whole story, that after he got home and told his mom that he couldn't play in the basketball game that week, that she told him not to worry, and that she would take care of it. Now, the kid didn't think anything of it, and thought his mom would contact me to have a chat and try to work things out. But little did he know, she would send that email to me. The student was suspended for 2 days and can't play until all the missing work is in. Now, as for the Karen, they couldn't get a hold of her, so they called Dad. It turns out that Dad is not a part of the military or government, nor is a high-powered hacker. He's actually a mild-mannered accountant. Dad said his wife called him from the road and told him that she made a huge mistake and was probably going to be arrested, and to not tell anyone where she was. My principal relayed this info to me while trying very hard not to laugh. The school resource officer asked if I wanted to press charges, and I said no. Hope that student gets his mom home soon, and I hope the dad gets her some mental health help. And just to clarify, I think Mom, like most Karens, just lost her mind a bit when she realized things weren't going her way. And then after, she couldn't take back the email and she panicked. Dad was actually really cool, and he assured me that Mom will never be in touch with me in any way again. And yes, I'm giving the kid a break. After all, he had the opportunity to make my life a living hell and potentially cost me my job. But he didn't. So I told Dad and Principal that when he comes back, if he can pass both a written exam and a practical cooking exam with an 80%, then I'll forgive the missing assignments and give him enough of a grade to pass him. Okay, so with that update out of the way, first of all, I want to say that I'm glad the kid didn't go along with Mom's lie, because that would have been a terrible road to go down. Second of all, I think the mom should have been charged, or at the very least reprimanded for her threats and accusation, a very dangerous accusation. Like guys, I have read a lot of these crazy stories, but this one by far has to be up there. Let me know what you guys think though. Okay, so for some context, I'm 29 years old and I've dealt with mental health problems all my life. But when I turned 20 years old, I was at my worst. Due to that, I couldn't maintain a stable job being in college. My parents have always been supportive with me. They let me live with them, and my dad paid for my psychologist, my medications, all my college education, and helped me until I was 24, while also taking care of my mom and my 3 younger siblings. He's a super hardworking man, and I've seen him quit things he enjoys and loves to give me and my siblings the best he can. Top tier parenting, and I love him to death. Anyways, fast forward to this year. I have a stable job that pays really well, and I've been saving money for the past 5 years because I wanted to do something for my dad as a thank you for all the sacrifices that he's done for me and our family. My dad's dream has always been to go to Disney World and to stay in one of those fancy hotels. But he was never able to do it since he's always spent money taking care of our family, making sure the bills are paid, food is on the table, all that stuff. Now, the thing is that my dad thought that he would never be able to go on a vacation like that, so I've been saving money in secret to make it happen. The only one that knew about my savings was my mom, and she loved the idea of a daddy-daughter trip. So I recently got into a fight with my boyfriend, who's 30 years old, and his family, because they found out that I had a good chunk of savings. Now, having the savings isn't the part they got mad about, it's that I refused to spend my savings in a house payment for him that could result him getting foreclosed on. Now, I've been with my boyfriend for a little over a year now, and he does have a good job, but he's not the best at taking care of his money. He bought this house before we met. Due to his poor management of money, he's behind in a few mortgage payments, and a few weeks ago he told me that there's a chance of him losing his house if he doesn't pay the debt. If I don't pay his debt. Now, last week I finally reached my goal, and had enough money to take my dad on his dream trip. Just the two of us, a daddy-daughter trip. I told my boyfriend and I was really excited, but he was livid. He asked me how I could be so selfish and go on a stupid vacation trip when he's about to get kicked out of his house due to being behind on payments. He also told me that if we were in it for the long run, that I should help use my chunk of savings to help him get out of debt, because that could eventually be my house too. Now, I want to note that we don't live together. I live in a small apartment. He also told me that his trust was betrayed because I've been hiding my chunk of savings from him all the months that he was behind on payments. And quote, a good girlfriend does not do that. I told him it was not my responsibility to pay for his debt, but he kept yelling that we're a couple and we need to help each other out, so I left. He ended up telling his mom and sister about it, and now both of them have been harassing me. They've been going to my apartment and to my work, telling me what a horrible girlfriend I am for not helping him, and demanding I pay his late mortgage payments so he can stay in his house. Now, I get that my boyfriend's going through a hard time, but this is something I've been working really hard to achieve, and since my dad is starting to have difficulties walking and his health is getting worse, I don't want to wait any longer to take him on this once-in-a-lifetime trip. What should I do? Okay guys, so first of all, this is my opinion, okay? So OP doesn't owe this 30-year-old man a single dime of her savings. He's not entitled to any of her money. He's not entitled to know about her personal finances. They've been dating for what, a year? And he and his family expect OP to come be the superhero and save him from foreclosure due to his own irresponsibility? Like guys, that's absurd. And what's even more absurd is that his mom and sister harassed her over it. Like, I'm sorry dude, but that is such a red flag. Like, it's not something that came out of nowhere crippling his finances and he suddenly needed help. That's a different story. But OP said it herself. He was terrible at managing money. Guys, that to me is a recipe for disaster in the future. And in my opinion, OP needs to get away. So ladies and gents, before you get those fingers ready, OP does come back with an update. The update reads, so here's what happened. After things calmed down a little, my boyfriend and I talked. He actually apologized and told me that he never intended to come off that aggressive. He was just very stressed with the situation and he took it out on me. He also told his mother and sister to stop harassing me. I told him I understood that he was stressed, and I also apologized for being insensitive and talking about spending all that money on a trip when I knew he was struggling. That was totally on me, and I did feel bad for that. I told him he had no right to be mad at me for keeping my savings a secret when I didn't even know how much in debt he was until that day. I then told him that I didn't want to be in a relationship with someone that reacts that way about something I care so much about and accused me of being selfish. So I broke up with him, and he was not happy about that. So long story short, it was a very dramatic and nasty breakup, but I got out of there and I'm safe for now, thankfully. I've already started to book things for the trip. I'm planning it to be in October. I'll give my dad the news on his birthday mid-September once everything is booked and ready. Again, thank you all so much. So there you go. I'm glad OP didn't use a chunk of her savings to help out her irresponsible and entitled boyfriend. And I do hope that OP does have a fantastically magical trip with her amazing dad, who, by the way, I feel deserves it so much for what he's done for OP and her family. And with that said, my friends, that brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, we survived another episode. I hope you found this stories entertaining, and if you did, hit that like button. And if you missed yesterday's episode, a manager dares OP to sue, and he does. The person literally does not know that OP is a lawyer. It's such a good story, so check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.